Hi, everyone. I'm Sherry Brown. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing for Western Canada, Verve Senior Living. I'm really excited for us to present to you our webinar today, which is our Virtually Verve webinar, Enriching Lives in Memory Care. And this is an extremely hot topic in Canada, not only in Canada, but the world. And we're super excited to have three of our incredible experts that actually work at Verve. And I'd like to introduce our panel today before we get into some questions. We've had some great questions that have been sent in by all of you in advance, and we'd love to go through them with you. So I'd like to introduce Denise Cato. She is our National Director of Wellness. Now, Denise has worked for Verve in many different capacities over 25 years, not only as a general manager, but as a nurse, a health and wellness manager, and she's been the National Director of Wellness role since 2017. So welcome, Denise.
Thanks very much, Sherry.
Yeah, and also I would like to introduce Ruth Langdon, who's our Director of Wellness for Western Canada. And Ruth joined Verve in 2001. That's quite some time ago, as a staff nurse with a background in geriatric nursing. And she as well rose through the ranks in Verve to become a general manager and now the Director of Wellness for Western Canada. And she's taken part in the Canadian Patient Safety Program to enhance patient safety with Alberta Health in the past. And you've also taken some additional training through Mount Royal and geriatrics. So welcome, Ruth.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you, Sherry.
And last but not least, we have Stephanie Fachera Barnes, who's the Ontario Life Enrichment leader and also works at one of our communities. You're a certified dementia practitioner, as well as a recreational therapist with a focus in gerontology.
Thanks, Sherry. I'm so excited to be here.
Welcome. And you know, what a wealth of knowledge I have in front of me. All three of you ladies have done so many different things, not only in the industry, but with Verve specifically as well, and in gerontology. So it's really great to have you here. One of the things I want to start off with is just looking up the numbers. You know, I've worked in the industry myself, but the numbers to me are staggering of those who are suffering with dementia and some cognitive issues. So according to the Canadian Institute for Health Information and the Alzheimer's Society of Canada, and I know you ladies probably already know this, but the number of people living with dementia does continue to rise. And the increase is due to real growth in our senior population in Canada. And it's expected to rise 68% over the next 20 years. And currently, right now, there's more than 44 million people who are living with dementia and cognitive decline worldwide, which is just staggering to me when I hear that. And right now, we're looking at almost 1 million people who will be living with dementia in Canada by the year 2030. So that brings us to today with what do we do and how can we most respectfully and wholesomely care for people who are suffering with cognitive decline. So we have had quite a few people who have sent in some questions. I'd love to know, Denise, maybe we could start off with you. Just tell us about how is the Verve household model and services different than others in the business? What is somebody, who's looking for their parent? What do they see at a Verve community?
So thanks very much, Sherry. I'm really happy to be here today. You know, it's interesting, over a 25-year venture that I've had with Verve Senior Living, we've definitely spent an incredible amount of time, doing research and making sure that the properties that we're building are state of the art. So it'll initially take me to the village of Langley, which is the only dementia care village in Canada currently. This household model that we have there, or I'll even call it a cottage-like model, has a very small amount of residents living in each cottage. They have the ability to leave when they wish, walk out the front door, enjoy a patio, walk to the barn, do some gardening, and our staff have the ability to keep track of those residents, even though they've walked outside away from their actual household. For some of the Ontario properties and those of us I know in Alberta as well, for our memory care households are a little bit of a different model than the actual village of Langley. But our household models focused on making sure that we had life stations that were built right into our household model. So areas like nurseries, workbench stations, small grocery stores, so that the residents feel like they're in a family-like atmosphere, which obviously gives us the cutting edge approach that we require against the competition that we're currently facing. Um, Lastly, just from an education standpoint, our team members, including ourselves on the line today, who actually oversee the Life Enrichment and Health and Wellness departments, all of our team members have specialty training in memory care. And I think I'll get into that a little bit later as we get going, Sherry, but that's really where I would say we have a cutting edge against some of the other properties that have opened around us.
That's great. Yes, I've been to the village many times, and it is such a unique property. Just a really great and special way for those living with some decline for them to do every day. Now, Stephanie, you work frontline. You are at a site. You're at one of our wonderful communities in Ontario. How do you provide some personalization to the households in memory care, being that they're smaller and more of a unique setting?
So one of the most important aspects, and we tell our families this upon move-in as well, is to get to know our residents. So their routine, like they were at home, their likes, their dislikes, and ultimately, like what are their passions. So stuff like that would be setting up familiar items, like the same furniture they had at their home, anything that's super important to them. And then ultimately, it really comes down to what it means. What does home mean to our residents? So is it the smell of baking in the morning? Is it walking the dog? Is it folding the laundry? Is it cooking oatmeal for the family? Is it the color of their suite? Or ultimately, is it participating in household chores? So as everyone's probably aware, personalizing our households is unique to each resident. They have their own likes and their dislikes, but it's important that we provide all of this information for the smoothest transition from their home. This can include family photos on the wall, their favorite painting, or maybe something that they have made and that they're super proud of. And this also gives us an opportunity for discussion upon move-in, with the residents getting comfortable with the staff. It helps us reminisce and keep these happy memories and moments in their new home. It could also be classical music that makes them feel at home. So we might be playing this over lunchtime. It might be plants in the living room. So we just want to make sure that we're providing and taking all this information from when our residents lived at home, and personalizing it to the resident suite as well as the whole floor. And then what Denise will mention later on is we create a resident shadow box. This includes like small props, mementos, pictures of favorite hobbies, or maybe family photos. These boxes are created and filled and displayed just right in front of their door. It helps our residents understand where their suite is. And then it also is a great conversation piece for engaging interactions between our staff and our residents. And then also we have the ability to take these off the wall. And then if our residents may be having a difficult moment in the living room, we can take it off and do a little reminiscing session with them. So in conclusion, essentially, just making sure that we're sort of keeping everything that was important to them at home and then transferring that over to our memory care households.
That's wonderful. And it sounds, Stephanie, like you would really work closely with a family coming in just to make sure you knew what they did for a living, you knew what their favorite hobby was, just to make sure you have all those key components with their stay with us.
Yeah, so we try and meet with the family before the resident moves in, with the health and wellness manager and the life enrichment manager, and we fill out a profile and assessment that's called our life story profile. And so that's how we gather all of our information in a platform called Wellbe. And we have access to print out the profile and the assessments to go into their care plans. And then we'll review that with the household team so they can get informed about our resident. So we're all on the same page.
That's great. Now, you mentioned classical music, and I have to tell you, I was at the Village Langley one day when they were doing this program with classical music called Drum Fit. I think it's a Verve signature. I know it's a Verve signature program, but I know, Ruth, could you tell us a little bit more about the Verve signature life enrichment programs that we offer?
Sure, Sherry, I would love to. So I'll start with Drum Fit because that is a phenomenal new program, our signature program that we launched in 2022. It's so interactive. There's music, and there can be all genres of music: classical, country, rock, pop, whatever. Residents sit a chair, and they have a huge yoga ball with drumsticks, and they get a rhythm going with one of the Life Enrichment team. There's so much laughter, so much fun. It's one of our most popular programs. Some sites are doing 2-3 classes a day just to incorporate, so everybody wants to take part. Some will even sneak in twice, but as long as Drum Fit is going, they want to be there because there is that laughter and so much fun that's happening. We also have our Meet Me at the MoMA, which is another great program that we have. It is the Museum of Modern Art, and what that entails, it's a lesson from, could be Van Gogh, Voltaire. There's a script, a little bit about the artist, and then the residents get to paint. We provide the easels, the canvas, everything that they need, the brushes. And what's great about it is it's how they perceive. We show them a picture, a great Van Gogh picture, and then they will put their rendition of what that looks like to them. There's no right, there's no wrong. It's exactly how they perceive it. And that is the great thing about that program. It's whatever they're feeling at that time. And we get to incorporate that into a piece of art that they can put in their room, which is fabulous as well. We also have our Can Fit Pro program. That's a certified exercise program where our life enrichment teams are certified on par with trainers, professional trainers. There's an annual certification, and we encourage and have all of our team members participate in that program so that everybody across the board with Verve, when we hold an exercise program, that they're getting a proper structured exercise program that fits the senior with even their decline, whether they're independent or assisted living or memory care, so that it's custom fit to them. We have our Java Music Club that's been around for quite some time, and we're going to be exploring some new additions to the Java Music Club in 2023. Our Fit Minds is a brain stimulation program that is all aspects of of memory care encompassed into a Fit Minds stimulation program, and that is well received by all residents.
That's great. All of these programs, they all have that fun aspect of doing something in a life enrichment setting, but they're all, the background is they're all very therapeutic. I love that. Speaking of music, I don't know if Stephanie is available. She's got someone in the room, I think, but I wanted to ask, there's a big aspect. First of all, I wanted to sneak into the Drum Fit myself. I think they had to tell me to go away because it looked amazing. But the benefits of music therapy and memory care, we've heard about it. We've actually done some blogs about that. Why would we use it in our memory care households? And can you give me a little bit more information on what is it that it would help in terms of the cognitive decline and dementia prospect or resident?
So,
Stephanie. Oh, good.
Sorry. Okay, so yeah, music programs are essential in our everyday lives, as we all know. We listen to music on the radio. Our residents listen to music, waking up with an alarm. They went to concerts. I'm just thinking of my Nana and Grandpa. They went to a bunch of dances on Friday. So our whole lives revolve around music. And ultimately, music is like the biggest and most successful program in memory care. So it can trigger long forgotten memories and reduce anxiety. It's been proven to promote better health and a higher level of functioning. So everyone's going to ask, like, how does it work and why does it work? We're all aware of singing lullabies when we were younger. So we use rhythm every day in our everyday lives. It's the part of the brain that we don't forget is rhythm, especially those songs connected with our youth. They typically remain unchanged. So even after other abilities no longer remain, it reduces stress and anxiety, and it also increases physical movement circulation. So I'm going to talk about two of our amazing music programs that we have at Verve. And we typically, as much as we use the music all the time during the day on memory care, while the residents are having breakfast, during lunch and dinner time to increase socialization, like, oh, I remember this song, especially at my property. We have a lot of residents that are from the country. So that's constantly what we play is country music. But the two music programs we have are Music and Memory and Sing Fit. And these programs ultimately just connect our residents and bring up happier moments and memories. They promote and express feelings, they connect with others, and they ultimately encourage social interactions. So we typically have music programs before our residents start to sundown, which is around 2:30 every day, till about 3:30. And music programs offer great connection with our residents, lots of memories, and not just the music programs we have are important, but it's also important to bring in like community band groups. We have residents that play instruments. We have personalized playlists for residents, and then music therapists that come into some of our homes as well. And then going out to concerts and musical performances like theater. So there's lots of benefits and lots of opportunity for music, but super important in having it every day on our memory care households.
Oh, that's great. I think I can remember many times you think back that song you heard, where you were at the time. And so very much like our residents, it brings back hopefully some happy memories when they're hearing some of these songs, just to tweak some memory. That's really great. Very heartwarming.
Sherry, if I can just add as well, because this is an amazing topic. And I as we walk around the memory care households, if somebody is having a difficult moment, and maybe just, maybe somebody's exit seeking and looking for their wife or looking for their husband or for their mom or their dad, often song will bring people to the right place.
Wow.
And there's lots of examples that I could use. You Are My Sunshine is just one that pops in my mind. And, for residents that are nonverbal, that have later stage dementia, often when you sing songs of their era, they may not be able to get the words out to verbalize, to have a regular conversation with you. But when you start to sing, they remember the words. And it completely changes the mood and the mode, and definitely assists in that moment that they might be having that was difficult, and assist them in forgetting where they were 5 minutes ago and putting them into a place of happiness. So music is definitely a big part of what we do at Verve, and definitely spending more time reminiscing and singing with our residents is definitely something that we focus on.
That's great. And
Denise,
go
just
ahead.
to add to that, We use music, just to add to that, Denise, to cue transition. So like if our residents are maybe in the living room and we're trying to cue a transition to the dining room, we'll sing "Show Me the Way to Go Home." So that triggers lots of different memories and definitely helps cue that transition to the next activity.
That's great. Now, I have been in the village Langley and a few other households where I see other residents helping other residents. Denise, can you tell me a little bit more about Verve's philosophy on that and how that works with our teams in the sites?
So as I mentioned previously, we do have a very family-oriented household sense when we walk into our properties, and people that are touring will immediately feel that as they're walking around. I think it's really important to, keep things as normal as possible. So providing familiar chores or tasks for those residents is extremely important. Recognizing that folding laundry and setting the table and sweeping the floor and preparing meals were part of their day-to-day lives. So it's really important that we focus on this, and that we allow them to have some purpose for the day, and have them assist in helping us keep our household family oriented so that they feel as though they're at home. Versus in a place where it would be looked upon as a facility, because that is certainly not what we do. We have home-like environments and spend the time in making sure that our residents are included in our day-to-day chores at the household.
That's great, thank you. Now, one of the questions that just came up recently is from a family member who wants to know how we can continue to offer spiritual programs to those living with dementia who maybe aren't able to attend church. This is a really important subject for many of our residents and seniors. Ruth, how do we facilitate the spirit part of the mind and body, but not only that, the spirit?
So all of our communities, and that's what they are, they're a community in itself and they're part of a bigger community. So we incorporate volunteers, pastors from the churches, students from Bible colleges. So we try to encourage, and we have lots of volunteers who come in and help with those kinds of programs, especially students in Bible college. They're just hungry to share their knowledge. And we do it in a most of the homes have some kind of quiet area where you can have a church service, informal, not as formal as church, where it's relaxing, the music's playing, there's singing, and that's where the residents don't forget those hymns, Amazing Grace being one of them. They do not forget the old time hymns. So we encourage volunteers, pastors, everyone to come on site to participate. And if there's, we have buses, so there's opportunities to go to a church service, we will do that with some residents, supervised, of course.
Oh, that's great. That's great that there's still that option. They can still live a fulsome, whole life with one of our communities. I want to ask now, Stephanie, you're there day to day. I know these Ruth and Denise, they do a different type of role where they're helping everyone across Canada. They're a very busy role, and you're at the site. What does a typical day look like for someone who's living in one of our households?
Yeah, so our households are designed to enhance and encourage our residents, as mentioned before, to live as independently as possible. So we want to leave those decisions up to our residents. We want to provide a home-like environment with the implementation of life skills, like Denise mentioned, reminiscing, socializing, validation techniques, and like I said, less structure and more in-the-moment activities. And what everyone has to realize as well is that there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach for residents who require memory care services. We want to make sure that they live with dignity and purpose and meaning each day. We want to make sure that our team is enthusiastic and they ultimately create the best days for our residents. So in conclusion, we provide personalized programs that are always evolving. As residents' needs change, new generations come in, and new residents join our household family. So during the day, we provide opportunities for purposeful, meaningful, and engaging activities that can include special talents, hobbies, and passions throughout the day. We want to really think about providing programs that the residents have done, whether it was their occupation or their passion. So we have a resident at our community that was a florist. So she makes all of our centerpieces on our table. So just really taking into consideration what they used to do. Residents also participate and assist with setting tables, organizing cutlery, sweeping and dusting, tidying up. We have a garden center on our patio, and most of our communities do as well. We have a resident that owned a restaurant, so she bakes each morning and then serves our treats at the afternoon social. So these life skills that we chatted about provide residents with a sense of purpose and contribution. And then some techniques that our team members learn is to draw on the life story. So we want to remember the power of smiles, enthusiasm, and hugs and handshakes. That resident will feel welcomed. We know that this information is from their life story. Also, body language, it communicates to our residents that are nonverbal, that we are a friend and we're approaching with a friendly, loving spirit. So we want to make sure and take into consideration from our team members, like how to approach our residents. You know, some team members might need to be careful on how they approach a resident. We want to make sure that we're approaching them from the front versus the back. Maybe they have trouble hearing, so it could spook them. So making sure that we know our residents is super important. And then providing purposeful activities that we know that our resident will enjoy to contribute to the household floor as well.
Great. You know, it sounds like you do everything you can to make every day a great day for one of our residents who are in our memory care households. And you touched on something that I'd really love to ask you about, Denise, is the education. You know, I remember when I first spoke to someone who had dementia, and for me, the first time it was a little startling. I didn't really understand how to approach it. So how do our staff approach dementia and dementia care and those with some cognitive challenges?
So from an education standpoint, with regard to our team members that work on memory care floors or households, I'm a certified dementia care practitioner, and we have something called GPA, which is Gentle Persuasive Approach training, that all of our team members participate in prior to working on our dementia care floors. And in addition to that, we also have an internal portal at Verve Senior Living for education. And there is a dementia care area for those of the team members that are participating in providing care on those floors. They take part in the internal training process, plus the GPA training, as I mentioned. And there's also something called You First training, which is also dementia care training and how to deal with somebody that may have a responsive behavior or a personal expression of need. We also have a pairing with the Alzheimer's Society across the country. They come in and provide sometimes individualized education based on something that a household may be dealing with a specific resident. And they can provide some ideas or techniques to use to deal with a specific behavior that we might be dealing with. In addition, I think it's important to mention as well that, you know, in all of our households, and I'll kind of go back to where Stephanie was a moment ago, where she said, you know, one size doesn't fit all. So I think that's a really important thing to talk about and focus on today. Because although we have life enrichment programs and a specific calendar for memory care, it doesn't mean that what's listed on that calendar today is actually what's going to happen, because it really depends on what the plan is going to be. So as an example, we might be doing a signature program like Fit Minds, but it could very well turn into a sing-song based on the mood or the what the residents want to do. And I think that's really the focus of the day. So getting back to making sure that we understand what reminiscing and validation techniques look like, this is something that, again, our team members are all trained in. And having the ability to take somebody one-on-one to a quiet area in our households. All of our households are built with very quiet areas where you could take someone and just potentially do a one-on-one with someone if they don't want to be in a group of, 5 or 6 residents. And that happens on a regular basis.
I love that. So extremely resident focused
Yes.
and resident driven as well.
Yes. Yes.
That's a really great approach. And I just love that about Verve. One of the things that I would love you to expand on a little bit, Denise, is the families are so incredibly important. I know from being in our communities, families are always visiting, but how is it that after somebody moves in, we can actually keep them and continue to the engagement with families?
So I'm going to change your question a little bit, Sherry, because I think it's important that we talk about what it's like to move in and plan for somebody that's actually moving from, say, their own household into a Verve community, and recognizing that a transition for somebody that has dementia is an extremely difficult transition. And without their family members being involved, I mean, that wouldn't happen. So our involvement with family members happened from the moment the tour walks through a door and we have a potential prospect that's looking to move into one of our communities. So getting back to what Stephanie talked about at the beginning of our webinar today, we have individualized suites that can be decorated with familiar items that the resident would recognize from their own home when they move into one of our households. So of course they have their own suites. Outside of the resident suite are the shadow boxes or the memory boxes that Stephanie spoke about earlier for wayfinding. This is a great time for us at that time to invite family members in to participate in a life enrichment activity with our residents and in fact build that memory box with the resident so that everything in that box is not only familiar but brings them warmth and happiness when they look at these shadow boxes outside of the resident suites. From a more clinical side of things, because that's my background as well, not just life enrichment, from a clinical standpoint, it's important that we conduct assessments to make sure that we can meet our residents' needs prior to them moving in and understanding what their likes and dislikes were. And that would include building this life story that we talked about previously, which is quite a series of questions that you would ask somebody's occupation. What did you do for a living? How many children do you have? Are you a grandma or a grandpa? And how many grandchildren do you have? And what are their names? All of those things are very important so that when you're providing care to someone, you have something to talk about with them that's very specific to them. And recognizing that when somebody has dementia, getting them to do certain tasks like taking a shower or getting dressed for the day can sometimes be difficult. And it has to be on their terms. But if you have the ability of knowing them on a personal level, it makes those tasks much easier because it gives you conversation starters with those residents. In addition to that, meeting with the family on a regular basis for interdisciplinary care conferences just to talk about how the resident's doing. Is there anything that we can do better? We're always looking for feedback in our communities. We're certainly not perfect and always looking for suggestions or ideas from family members that would benefit their loved one. Involving them at Christmas time is another great example. When we have entertainment coming in, providing them with invitations to come and participate in entertainment or just participate in a life enrichment activity is also really important. So that's really how we engage our family members on a regular basis. I mean, it's not just the resident that becomes part of our Verve family on these households. It's actually the family members as well that become a part of our household because they're there on a regular basis, helping us provide care to their loved ones. So that's how family involvement works, Sherry.
That's great. That is really excellent. I have
And
to
I just
say,
wanted to
oh, go
add,
ahead.
Oh, thanks. I just wanted to add, we communicate with the families ongoing. We provide them with the calendars of events that's a month ahead of time so that they can plan and visit at that time. And as well at the Village Langley, we've partnered with Karen Terrell, who offers a family support group for families who have parents with dementia, and that support, because it's very difficult to deal for some people, it's difficult for them to deal with that mom or dad has dementia and is declining, and this is not the person they were. So those family support groups are well attended and a great resource that we can offer to the families.
That's excellent. You know, from what I've learned so much. I knew a lot before, but I've learned so much from you ladies. You're three wonderful experts. I have to say, from everything from a Verve Senior Living perspective, from the design of our buildings to the programs that we offer, to that really important education, and really focused on a resident-driven, resident-centric approach. It sounds really like a really full program that we have to offer for memory care. And it's something that's really top of mind for a lot of people. And I love that, Ruth, you brought up, it is not an easy process. This is a big transition for families, so we want to help them as smoothly as possible and to get their parent or loved one the right care for them and really gear it towards their needs. So I don't have any other questions that people have sent in. Do you ladies want to finish off anything?
I just wanted to just share a brief story of I spent some time at the Village Langley in this role that I'm in, and one afternoon we had a garden party. There was music, there was fun. One lady, you know, the salon is there. It's a come and go as you like at the Village Langley. You have that freedom. She went for a mani-pedi. She was letting her nails dry, and then I was going to walk her home because she said, "Are they dry?" And I said, "Yes, they are." So I'll walk you back to your cottage. Two other ladies came by and they said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I am going to take her back to her cottage." "Oh, we know where she lives. We know her. She's our friend." And so then they took her back to the cottage. So that's where various levels of dementia play into the bigger community. And that's a community feel that you definitely get from the time you step into one of our dementia communities. I just
That's
thought it was a
great.
heartwarming story.
Very. Thank you so much, ladies, for being on our panel. And if you would like more information about memory care and what Verve Senior Living has to offer, please visit our website at verveseniorliving.com.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.